Pre-pandemic, if I'd gone to any organization, I guarantee you, and I said, will you hire someone without ever seeing them in person? The majority of organizations like, are you mad? And there's no way I would do that.
Why is it important businesses keep up with trends and make use of the latest technologies?
I think it's actually more important than ever, Sophie, that they do that because, and it's back to that point about we're all consumers, and consumers that they're not stupid, and when they have a great experience from a brand somewhere, they carry that expectation with them. So you might be sitting there thinking, well, actually, we don't need to do anything. We've been fine. We're a traditional business, but nothing's going to change. Well, actually, your customers have changed. Actually, your employees have changed too in how they use technology. And so what's really important for you is you have to learn to keep pace with that expectation. And this isn't about chasing unicorns and rainbows and new gadgets and new fads, but it's about thinking about where's the mindset of our customers, what's the mindset of our employees, what are the services that they use and rely on every day, and what are the things that make them great, and how could I apply that into my business. And I always use this really silly example, and this is a pre-pandemic example, but I figured out a year ago now, the distance between my son's school and Starbucks is the same amount of time that it takes Starbucks to make me a coffee and a sausage sandwich. And this is just fantastic because it meant I could sit in the car park, drop my son off, and as I'm dropping, have a nice day, I'm on my phone like coffee and a sausage sandwich. And so I drive to Starbucks, and as I walk in, I walk past the queue of people that's waiting to be served. So that's result number one. And then I walk past the queue of people that's waiting to pick up their drinks. That's result number two. There's my coffee and my sausage sandwich. It's got my name on it, pick it up, and I walk off. It's like I've won the internet, right? When I've done that. And, that's my expectation now. Wherever I go, I want that level of service, but not just for buying a coffee and a sausage sandwich. If you're going to sell me building materials, if you're going to sell me office furniture, if you're going to provide me legal advice, I want the same kind of frictionless experience that I can get from buying a coffee and a sausage sandwich. And so the point is, you may think that you're a traditional business. You may think that technology doesn't have anything to do with you, or you may even think that actually what you've got is good enough. The problem is your customers don't stand still and your employees don't stand still either. So your challenge is, how do you ride that balance about, what's just enough to actually live up to the expectations of both your employees and your customers. And that's where I think businesses really need to focus, is just thinking about, we call it the customer journey or the employee experience. Those two things are really, really crucial to you when it comes to thinking about technology in your business.
What are some small changes businesses can make today to harness the benefits of that technology offers?
There's some really easy things to do. The first thing, and it really is super simple, is you just ask people. Talk to your employees is a great example, right? Talk to your employees. What are the things that you could do to make their lives easier? What are their ideas? What are their experiences? And that's the lovely thing about this. When I started my career, there's a handful of people who knew how technology worked, right? And they were the people like me who you'd employ to do your IT or whatever. Well, it's different now. Every member of your organization, every employee is engaged with technology. They have their own experience. They've got their own ideas of what works and what doesn't work. So the first thing I would do, I would ask them. And that would, the same goes for your customers as well. You just got to talk to them, right? And find out, what can we do to help? Where are the pain points? What can we do to smooth out the experience? And I think that's the sort of the key issue, is to be open-minded. The second thing is, as a business leader, you kind of need to learn to open your eyes. And I get that that sounds massively patronizing, but as a business leader, what you tend to do is you've got your head down in today's business, and you're worried about today's priorities, and you're doing all that stuff, and you're in your industry, in your company, and you're down like this. In a digitally connected world, actually what's happening around the world, what's happening in other sectors, in other markets, is really, really important for you. So sometimes you've got to learn just to take a bit of time and look around and see what's going on. What are other organizations doing? And again, not just in your sector, but outside of your sector. What are other customers doing? How are they working? How are they relating? So I think if you can talk to people and listen and get their input and canvass their input, and the second, be open-minded to looking at different ways of doing things, they're the easiest, the two sort of quickest things that you can do to help set you up to be able to know which is the best thing to do. What's the balance for you to strike, the right balance for you to strike for your organization?
What is your top tip for businesses struggling to succeed in this fast changing high-tech world we're now living in?
I think my top tip is probably learn to let go. And what I mean by that is, you know, before the pandemic in particular, we were so stuck on, this is what we do, this is how we do it, these are the things we're prepared to do, these are the things we're not prepared to do. And one of the great opportunities of the terrible situation in the pandemic is it's forced us to really analyze some of those things and break some of those rules that we said would never be broken. So, for example, we would have pre-pandemic, if I'd gone to any organization, I guarantee you, and I said, will you hire someone without ever seeing them in person? The majority of organizations like, are you mad? There's no way I would do that. I'm pretty confident every organization that has been hiring has hired people without seeing them over the last 12 months. All of these sacred cows that we've had in our organizations, suddenly we realize aren't so sacred anymore. And that's really important. And going forward, you need to be, and especially as a business leader, you're constantly asking yourself, what am I doing today that I don't need to do tomorrow, or I shouldn't be doing tomorrow? And be really brutal about those things, really understand where, no, absolutely, we could never do that. Or maybe we could. So I think that's just about being open-minded and about being flexible. The challenge, and this is part of our sort of transition from this industrial era to a digital era. The industrial era is built on a series of standardized processes. So we worship the god of efficiency. And in order to be efficient, we break everything down that we do into a series of standardized interlinked processes. So we all fulfill our own individual piece of the puzzle, and then it comes together as an entire organization or a product or a service or whatever. And that's great if you want to be efficient, but it's terrible if you want to be agile, if you want to be able to adapt to changes in the market. Because what happens when an organization like that, with those sort of rigid, sort of standardized processes all connected to each other, is the only way you can react to a change in the market or a pandemic or a recession is you have to completely break the organization before you can put it back together again. So what you're better to do is to, rather than worship efficiency, actually worship effectiveness. So what is it that we need to do as a company to deliver the best product, to deliver the best service? Let's understand what that is, and then be a bit looser about how people go about doing that. And it sounds a bit counterintuitive, and we want to be efficient as businesses. Of course we do. But if you're efficient and the product that you make is no good or not relevant to your customers, then I would argue kind of what's the point in that? So I think it is about being flexible. I think it's about being open-minded, and it's about being really critical about what are the things that are core to you that you cannot change, will not change, and what's up for grabs.
What is the secret to capturing and maintaining audience attention in the digital era?
I don't know, and I would love to find. No, I'm kidding. For me, it's a number of things. Number one, it's about being genuine and authentic. Nobody wants to hear from you if they're reading something that isn't genuine, authentic, or that they can read somewhere else. And I say this to brands all the time, especially in a public speaking kind of way, or a webinar, online sort of thing. Don't tell me stuff that I can go and read on your website. I'm not interested in that. I want to know what you think. I want to know your personal view, and I can make my own opinion based on who I think you are and what I think you do. But it's your color, it's your character. That's the bit that makes it exciting. And I think, think about the content that resonates most with all of us. And it is the stuff that grabs us. It gives us something that we wouldn't normally find. And that to me has been, I sort of regard myself as a sort of quintessential technology evangelist. So my job is to not excite you with the technology, but to excite you with what the technology can enable you to achieve. And for me, if I can do that in a genuine way, and I can do it in a personal way, so quite often I'll talk about, my own personal experiences and, what happened to me. And quite often it's when it went terribly wrong, and what we can learn from that. Those are the things, those human things are the bits that make any audience sit up and go, oh, that was really interesting. And so I think that's the thing for me is whenever we're talking about audience engagement, it's what am I giving it? What am I making here? And how is that going to connect on a human level to the people I'm interested in the audience?